Crazy Samurai 400 vs. 1, also known as Crazy Samurai Musashi or just Crazy Musashi, is a 2020 action flick directed by Yuji Shimomura, written by Atsuki Tomori in what has to be one of the easiest scriptwriting gigs in movie history, and starring the always fun to watch Tak Sakaguchi. The story goes like this. Legendary samurai Miyamoto Musashi killed some members of the Yoshioka clan, and now they want revenge. They stage an ambush for Musashi, and he shows up and commences the slaughter. That's it. That is the entire story. Crazy Samurai 400 vs. 1 is a 77-minute, single-shot, single-take action scene. Yes, for nearly the entire runtime, it's one guy fighting hundreds of others with no edits and only a few short breaks. It's uneven, it drags, some sequences go on too long, and it's pretty damn fascinating. While watching it, a realization dawned on me. This is not merely an action movie, this is an experimental movie. Now, experimental is a dubious term when talking about art. It's a prefix or subgenre or whatever that a whole lot of people with no actual talent or skill in whatever medium they're quote-unquote working in hide behind in order to hand-wave criticism of their stupid garbage by telling people who don't like it that it's experimental and you just don't get it. And bizarrely, a lot of times this nonsense works. There's a lot of people out there who would rather die than have a bunch of pompous, phony-ass artsy types think they're not hip. It's pretty pathetic, but the psychology of it is also pretty fascinating. But there is legitimate experimental art out there, and you can usually tell that there's real skill, talent, and effort behind it. Stuff like that I can appreciate, even if it's something that's not my cup of tea. A lot of this type of stuff is really more about exploring an idea or a concept than it is about creating something with broader market appeal. Crazy Samurai is definitely the latter, although I really do dig it. It's less about telling a story and more about the idea. Is an 80-minute single-take action sequence possible, and if so, how would you pull it off? Now, I 100% understand why a lot of people don't like this movie. When taken simply as an action film, it's not the best. It feels sluggish and very repetitive. But when watching it from the perspective of trying to answer that question, is it even possible? Crazy Samurai is very impressive. The swordplay is interesting. It's not flashy or theatrical. It's very conservative and strategic. Musashi often keeps his back to an obstacle in order to not be surrounded, although he does get surrounded quite a bit. He does a lot of blocking and parrying, and he waits for openings to deliver lightning-quick death blows, and then he resets back to blocking. It's a much more realistic style of swordplay, but as such, it does lack that theatrical flair that makes movie fights so fun to watch. Also, in the really real world, these guys probably would have employed other weapons like spears and bows too, or just bum-rushed him when they had him surrounded, which, like I said, they do a lot. That probably would have ended things pretty quick for old Musashi, but for filmmaking purposes, sticking to swords alone likely kept it all much simpler for everyone involved to actually get the job done. From time to time, there are little sequences such as 5 or 6 guys rushing Musashi one at a time while he slashes them across their bellies, or Musashi running his blade down an opponent's and then tripping him and stabbing him. What it appears to me is that these individual sequences were choreographed, and then at certain points a signal was given to let everyone know what sequence to run through. Almost like a conductor conducting an orchestra. This has the effect of making the entire fight feel more choreographed rather than just made up on the spot. You also notice a few other little tricks that the filmmakers employed, such as a lot of Musashi's opponents stumbling or crawling out of frame to die. This is obviously so they can be recycled since there weren't actually 400 actors in this movie. It'd be real fun to know which actor died the most. Also, how many of your comrades do you have to watch this guy slaughter before you think to yourself, I don't think this is working, maybe I should run? 20? 87, 253. I know there's a code of honor and all that, but I feel like that only applies when you're dealing with a mortal human, not a literal demon in man form. Every now and then there are little lulls in the combat, and Musashi takes this opportunity to grab a drink of water and a new blade from several little stashes littered throughout the battleground. You could say these don't make a whole lot of sense, as it's never explained how they got there. Did Musashi plant them beforehand? I've read that Musashi was a pretty clever guy, so it's not totally out of the realm of believability that he would do that. A quick little line like, "Glad I snuck in and hid these," would have sufficed. Also, every 10 to 15 minutes a boss character, for lack of a better term, shows up and duels Musashi. Now these are an excellent idea, but they aren't always utilized to their fullest potential. Some of them are killed almost as fast as all the other nameless katana fodder, and they feel like a little bit of a letdown, although there are a couple that are pretty good. It's real easy to complain when you're the one just sitting on your ass watching the movie. You gotta remember, the goal was to make the entire fight in one take. Longer set-piece duels with more intricate choreography means more opportunities for someone to make a mistake and literally ruin the entire movie, not just one scene. It's the movie-making equivalent of a roguelike video game. One wrong move and you have to start over from the beginning. There are no saves, no checkpoints, no continues. You know how much you cry when you die in Dark Souls and have to start back at the last bonfire you rested at? Well, these guys are doing the filmmaking equivalent of a no bonfire, no deaths run.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's not fine. That's it, guys. That's it. Silver Knights took us out. I tried.
No pressure, right? The water breaks and cautious conservative swordplay also serve the dual purpose of conserving Tak Sakaguchi's energy. This is a god almighty endurance test, and as the movie goes on, Tak gets visibly worn down. It's an incredibly impressive feat of physical ability and grit. Apparently, Tak suffered several injuries during the shoot, such as broken fingers and a broken rib, and he just kept fucking going. Even towards the end, after he's been slicing and dicing for over an hour and those swords probably feel as heavy as your mom, he still lets out bursts of lightning fast slashes and strikes. If you've ever done a long workout, you know how sluggish you get and how heavy even tiny little light weights begin to feel. The man is a goddamn machine. As I said earlier, Crazy Samurai 400 vs. 1 is an experiment. Its sole purpose was to see if a feature film-length single-take fight scene was even possible, and it succeeds about as well as I think it could. While the answer to whether it's enjoyable or not is subjective, the objective fact is that yes, a long-ass single-take fight is doable, but like a lot of experiments, the first person to try it rarely, if ever, pulls it off flawlessly. Go ahead and call it a boring movie, but neither you or I, or hell, maybe anyone, could do it any better. I really wish there was a making of documentary for this movie. If there is, I haven't found it and I've looked. I want to see all the preparation and neat little tricks they came up with to pull off something this audacious. I really feel like, for all this movie's flaws, it proved its concept. There's a there, and it would be an excellent teaching tool for future filmmakers and fight choreographers to build on the idea. I can see someone taking the techniques developed by the cast and crew of this movie and refining them, cutting what doesn't work, keeping what does, and adding new ideas of their own. For instance, I think the boss duels would have been excellent spots to add dialogue that actually told a story. On the other hand, maybe what Crazy Samurai proved is that, while it is possible, a single-take fight like this just isn't really the way to go, and that blending long takes with hidden edits, the way movies like Birdman in 1917 did, gives you the best of both worlds. The appearance of one long take, while being able to have more complex fight choreography, since you wouldn't have to start from the beginning if there's a mistake. Who knows? Plus, there's also the cold hard reality that intensity is tough to maintain for a long time, maybe impossible. If a high energy scene goes on for too long, you risk wearing the audience out. Crazy Samurai 400 vs. 1 is a movie that I ultimately enjoyed but probably wouldn't watch again. From a narrative standpoint, there just isn't enough there to bring me back for a repeat viewing. At the same time, It's an incredible accomplishment and a fascinating piece of experimental filmmaking that, when viewed through the proper lens, is utterly mind-blowing. It's tough to recommend it for a casual viewing, even as just a one-off rental, but damned if it didn't leave an impression on me. Right now you can watch it free on Tubi, Pluto, Peacock, Freevee, and Roku. It's also available on Prime, Apple TV, and all the other usual places. Thank you all so much for watching. Adios.